Alright, hi. This is a quick mini lesson on teaching point of view to middle school students. So I just want to give you a quick layout of the agenda first. The agenda for this class will be a 50-minute to a 55-minute classroom, 5 minutes for a do now, 10 minutes for a mini lesson, which of course is the I do portion of you actually teaching, 15 minutes of guided practice, which is we do, students actually getting the opportunity to practice themselves, but with your guidance. And it's also the time when, before you transition into independent practice, you pull back for students, and if you notice trends during guided practice, you actually go back then and address those trends. Then you allow students to go into independent practice for 10 minutes. This is silent and by themselves. What we know is right now this is very hard for us. We're going to get to a point where that's better. Students need this chance to independently practice to prepare them for the 5-minute exit ticket. Alright, now that we've gone through our agenda, I'm actually going to run through the lesson plan with you and I did my own anchor chart and kind of talk through some of the talking points of the lesson. Alright, so what we'll start with is the top 5, or the do now. The top 5 of the do now is actually asking an inference question, because all of these TEKS in 6.6 C and A are from figure 19. Or from figure 19 C and D. And in figure 19 C and D, it asks students for point of view, but and for plot, but all of it is focused on students making inferences. So since this is star review, we're actually getting an idea of how students make their inferences. So when students will come in, you would tell them to come in, welcome them, shake their hands at the door like you already do. And then when they come in, they would have in front of them this paper. And the top 5 statement says, Mary thought she was going to give up, but she changed her mind and worked through the puzzle one more time. Students should have about 2 to 3 minutes to work on this. And what it asks is, what did the author actually say? What do I know? What can I infer about Mary? Now, before we give students what infer means, we're going to let them productively struggle. And what they may say is, I don't know what infer means, I don't like this is uncomfortable. Give them 2 to 3 minutes and then come back together. The first thing that I would do is say, alright, I want to remind you all that infer means to conclude from evidence. Right? So now, I would say, well, what does the author say? Raise a silent hand and tell me some things that the author actually says about Mary. Well, she said that Mary thought she would give up. All right, thank you very much. Right, she thought she would give up. What else does she say? But she didn't. Ooh, that's a good one. She didn't give up. All right. So what does that mean that I know? And funnily enough, this is a time for your students, actually what they know comes directly from what was said. Well, I don't know. Well, did Mary give up? No, she didn't give up. All right, so what I know, she wanted to give up. She wanted to, but she didn't. It actually says that she wanted to, but she didn't, and she decided to try it one more time. What does that tell me about Mary? Here are some things that we're looking for. That Mary maybe is a hard worker. That Mary is determined. Right, you're looking for them, and every time you would come back to, all right, you said Mary was determined, or Mary is strong. If they give you that answer, what makes you think that Mary is strong? Or what makes you think that Mary is a hard worker? Well, it says that she wanted to give up but didn't. Thank you so much. Like, you're making such a wonderful inference, and that inference means that you took the evidence that you had and you made a conclusion. So that's a quick run through of the top 5 that do now on students doing inferencing. The next part of the lesson that we're going to focus on is the I do, or the actual mini lesson where you're teaching students. So students would also have this chart in front of them, and this is the time when you go through with students and you're having them listen, you're having them write, you're having them interact. So they would have this chart. So our agenda for today, class, and our objective for this day is for you leaving knowing, not just being able to identify the three different types of point of view, but being able to read a story and find it. But before we can do that, we have to make sure we know those cue words, right? What are the cues for us? Alright, so the first type of point of view is first person point of view. So let me tell you some things about first person point of view, and I want you in the box right now I want you in your box on your paper to write what you see in this box up here. I'm going to give them about 2 minutes to write it. Alright, so let's talk about first person point of view. In first person point of view, you have the voice of the primary character. That's the main character in the story. And you only know that character's point of view. Now, sometimes you're like, I don't know how I know that character's point of view. So you're going to be looking for some words in sentences. You're going to be looking for words like I, me, mine, us, we, are. All of those words involve I. So what are the words that we would use in first person? Somebody give me an example. Raise a silent hand. I. Perfect. Thank you. I. So if I see I, my first thought as I'm going through is that this is probably first person. Sometimes when I like to learn, I like to attach a picture with it. So when I see something that I think is first person, if I'm not sure yet, or while I'm trying to get to it, I'm going to put an I next to it. I actually drew a little I. Let me draw some eyelashes on it. Alright, good. Now, the second kind is third person limited. Third person limited is told from one character's point of view. Here's how it's different. In first person, the person's identifying themselves is also one person, but it's I and me. In third person limited, the cue words that you're hearing are he, she, they, and you only know what the other person is thinking. So I wouldn't say, I think I want to go to the movies. You would say, he went to the movies. What's the difference there? Let's think through the difference. So, from when I see my cue words that help me decide it, when I see something that's third person limited, I'm going to write 3L, right? So remember that, 3L. Then we have third person, and this is a hard word, but we can just break it down. Omnipresent, right? Anybody go to church yesterday? Yay, I went to church yesterday. That's awesome. So one thing that we say about God or a higher power is that they're omnipresent. And this literally means all-knowing. Right? So third person omnipresent means it's from the third person perspective, but the person is all-knowing. So the narrator knows everyone's point of view. And they know what people are thinking. So that's always going to be my cue or my trigger. It's not a trigger word, but it's definitely a trigger idea. So I tried to make a little graphic here, and this is one person, and he's able to see into the heads of those three people. Why three people? Because it's third person omnipresent. So when someone can tell me what someone else is thinking, I know that that's third person, all present, knowing, right? Can you tell me what I'm thinking right now? Who can tell what I'm thinking? Nobody can tell what I'm thinking because I'm thinking about going home. I joke. I love being here with you. So we learned three different kinds. First person, what's my cue word? And I. Third person, what would be my cue visual? 3L, 3L. All right, and third person omnipresent, what is my cue word for third person omnipresent? Thinking. You have to know what others are thinking for it to be third person omnipresent. So this was going for about 15 minutes. You would put some of those examples. You have about 20 examples in the form that I sent you. So you put some of those examples in there and start going through and transition into guided practice. And guided practice, which is the we do, right? And remember we talked about the other day. The we actually deals with you and your students and not just the students with their peers. So with we do, I would say, all right, let's try this one. Lachey thought, and I don't want you to tell me, I want to see if I can figure this one out on my own. Lachey thought they were going to win. Ken thought the team was going to lose. Crystal hadn't decided yet. All right, so when I'm going through this process, I know that you all know. Hold on, don't yell it out. How would I figure out what this is about? So the first thing I would do was I would look for those trigger or cue words. So I see the word thought here a lot. I see what Lachey thought, I see what Ken thought, and I see what Crystal thought, but she hadn't decided yet. So my first thought would be, I know this is third person. How do I know this is third person? There's no use of I or me or we. I also know it's not third person limited because it doesn't say he, she, or they. So I'm going to say, because this person knows what multiple people are thinking, that this is third person omnipresent. Does that make sense? Like, I like that one. I appreciate us going through that one. Now let's go through another one. We're actually going to do number 2. She was sure, and number 2 goes on to tell me what she was sure of. She was sure that someone was following her. She was sure that. So this is the second one you're going to do, and when you're working through those, you still want students to kind of go through the process with you, but you want to be modeling it for them. So you read through the sentence and you say, the first thing I'm going to do always is look for my trigger words. So I see what she was sure of. And they can only tell me what one person is sure of, and they didn't use I, so I don't know what anyone's thinking or what multiple people are sure of. So this must be 3L. That's my cue word. I would see this and I say 3L, so that's third person limited. Now I want us to practice with one together. I'm going to read the sentence and then I'm going to try and do it. And then someone's going to raise their hand, raise a silent hand, and help me do this one. Alright, so I was sure someone was following me. I was sure that person, blah, blah, I don't know what the rest of it says. Right? Okay, so, if I look at this, it must be a 3L, right? No. Okay, tell me why it isn't a 3L. I don't understand. All right, Marshawn. Well, it's like it doesn't say he. Oh my goodness. So it's not 3L because it doesn't say he or she. Thank you so much, Marshawn. Let's add on to that. What else doesn't it say? Oh, okay, like call on someone, Marshawn. I understand. This must be a third person omnipresent. It must be, right? The third person omnipresent? No, why isn't the third person omnipresent? I don't know what anyone is thinking. Thank you, that's a good one. What else? Oh, I didn't do my cue words. You're right, thank you. When I look at I, and I look at I, then I know that it must be what? That's right, a first person. You're going to do another one where you're going to pretend like you're completely clueless and make sure I'm not writing on my wall. And you're pretend like you're completely clueless and they're kind of like helping you through it. And then if they're getting it, you're prepared to release them. So you'll do 4 with them. You're prepared to release them to do 6 with a partner, right? So with your elbow partner right now, I'm going to allow you to turn around and do the next 6 of them, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes. That's not enough time. Well, you better get to work because the 5 minutes has started, and start your timer. Here's the real thing. You're actually going to give them 7 minutes. So the timer you have is actually in your hand or something like that, right? Well, my timer is going. When they get to about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, you're going to say, if you need 3 more minutes, snap once. Right? Oh, I don't need you talking, I need you to snap. You've given them a very clear instruction, like I need you to be silent while you snap once. So we already know that we said the guided practice is actually 15 minutes. So you've already, like, you give them that time. You actually have 2 minutes now to come back together and say, all right, let's do these together. Number 4 is, yay, how do I know? Yay. Number 5 is, yay, how do I know? Yay. Number 6 is, oh no, wah, wah, wah. We got it wrong. Ooh, let's look at that. Let's look back at our chart, right? Because we're always looking at our chart. We're going to do this for 15 minutes, and then we're going to transition to our students. Well, guys, like I said today, like, you all were awesome today, and you had an awesome day. And as I said, we were trying to get to our 10 points, and we got to our 10 points today because we were silent, because we were helpful to our classmates, and because we took our notes properly, like budding 7th graders. So what that means is that while you're doing your independent practice for the next 5 minutes, I have 10 questions for you. While you're doing your independent practice, I'm going to play a little bit of music. But here's what the music means. If the music is on, that means you're working silently. You're not getting up. If you need me, you're raising your hand, and I'll be walking around. I'm gonna push you to use your chart to do these. Same thing with the independent practice. You know you're actually giving them 10 minutes. You don't want them to rush. You want them to take their time. So when you get to about 5 minutes, you say, snap once if you need about 5 more minutes. All right. Now, if they're talking a lot during that time, you're going to pull the class back together and say, well, class, because we're talking, I'm getting the impression that we're actually prepared to do our DOL right now, which will be graded. Is that the case? No, this is hard. Or yes. I mean, they might say yes. That would also be awesome, right? Then when you finish that, you're going to give them an exit ticket, and you're going to have 5 minutes. It's going to have 5 questions. And so there'll be similar questions to this. What I would say is that what you should do is, for your practice, because it's 10 questions, I would say you should have 5 short ones like this, and maybe 6 to 7 short ones like this, and 3 of them that are actually the little stories that are a couple of sentences. Your DOL should be the same thing. 3 of them that are just short sentences, 2 of them that are actually stories. Maybe even 1 of them that's a story because this is the first time they're doing it. But give them an opportunity, and as you saw on the paper, next to each one, I said, how do you know? So that's when they get the opportunity to talk about those trigger words or to use an example, and it'll help you see what students know. I really hope this video was helpful. I would love your feedback on how it could be better. Thank you so much. You have a great evening. Happy teaching.